Hi everyone, welcome back to today's show with myself, Faustina Anyanwu. In her show, and today I have Debbie Ariyo, who is the chair at UK BME Diaspora Anti-Slavery Network, and she's also the founder and CEO of AFRUCA Charities. That is a leading UK charity addressing human trafficking from Africa to Europe. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you very much, Faustina. Thank you.
Thank you. And your charity just did their anniversary a few weeks ago, I think.
Yes, we turned 19 in May last month.
That's been a long time. Yeah. You've been tackling trafficking, slavery, and all those kind of things.
Yes, it's been a long time. So when I started the charity in 2001, it was because of Victoria Klimbie. She was a young girl from Ivory Coast, trafficked to the UK, and we all know her story, how she was tortured and killed. And so the idea there was to say, how can we help to protect other children who might fall within that kind of like gap, and help to raise awareness in communities, support the children, and then of course work with different agencies and practitioners to address the problem.
Yeah. Are you with me? I hope
I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you hear everything I said?
I didn't hear the last part of what you said. Our children from Africa, something like that.
So I said the whole idea is to help support children from Africa who are trafficked from Africa, and of course help to raise awareness about trafficking in communities.
Yeah.
And work with different agencies to help ensure that the services they provide can actually help to meet their needs. Yeah.
Yeah. 19 years later, and in 2020, we're still talking about slavery and human trafficking. It must have been an experience for you, long-term experience, and there's not been enough resolutions in sight, even with United Nations and all the funds and everything that are being pumped into this area.
Yeah. In fact, it's even worse than that. It's like it's growing. So when we started in 2001, we know what the issues were around children being used as domestic slaves for sexual slavery, different forms of manual labor. So for example, if you go to, say, Nigeria, any major street in Nigeria, you see children hawking. But now we're seeing lots of different things that, people were not talking about, with children being used to traffic drugs, children being used, for sex. Then, of course, there's the internet and child pornography. So it's gotten a lot worse than it was in 2001.
Somebody will argue that with information everywhere, with the campaigns, the awareness, and people are still, being trafficked, especially, are being enslaved.
Yeah.
For example, we have almost every single week there'll be a story coming out from Saudi Arabia of African people, especially and being trafficked. So somebody will argue that is it a choice? Don't these people have choice? Don't they know what's happening? How will somebody protect themselves?
Yeah. Well, there are two things. Firstly, human trafficking is possibly the most profitable criminal enterprise. It's possibly the most profitable because it's so easy to get somebody and to traffic them. It was like how it was during the transatlantic slave trade. If you see how profitable it was to just take a human being and then use them and abuse them and exploit them to make money, to generate more money, income. So it's possibly the most profitable business. So that's why, unless there's a complete crackdown on it, it's never going to stop. Secondly, whilst it's growing, we also have an increasing level of poverty in many countries, especially in Africa. So in the in early 2000, even if people were being trafficked to the Arabian countries for domestic slavery or for sex slavery or whatever it is they're going there to do, it wasn't a big thing. It was a very minor thing. Now it's growing because people are making money off the back of the women and men being trafficked to go and work
Come
under the
again.
kafala visa system.
People are making more money off the back of
women, the women and the men who are being trafficked.
Okay.
You know, so there are many avenues to make money. The victims are still there. They're more desperate than ever before because there's a lot more poverty. And of course, some systems are very lax in terms of how they address trafficking. So that's why I guess until something concrete is done, is going to keep growing as a problem.
Yeah. Now, you know, there are a lot of charities. There are a lot of organizations, like I said, like United Nations and you know, different kinds of charities, both local and you know, both like grassroots and major big charities tackling this and trying to help and telling people, especially about I'm much more baffled about the Saudi Arabia, you know, influx of trafficked women, and most of these women are not children. Most of them are you know, way you know, more than 18 and all that. That's the ones I've seen. You know, I'm not sure of the statistics now, but what I'm saying, like the ones that we get to see, especially on social media, most of them are ladies and women who are way beyond 18 years, who mostly may have access to social media to know that there's something happening out there. So how is it still possible that people you know, people are being trapped in this
traffic?
And
yeah, that's a $1 million question. Even when you see people in Libya, like I think it was just this weekend, there was a story I read early this morning about a boat on the sea, and you know, there was a woman actually gave birth on the boat. So even on top of that, the Libyan sea patrol people, they captured the boat, and instead of allowing the people on the boat to continue on their way towards Europe, they took them back to Libya, where there's an ongoing war. Yeah, where as soon as they land there, they're going to be put in detention. Maybe they'll be enslaved, and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes you wonder why it's still possible that people are still going. The point is that we need to understand that a lot of the people, they're not making an informed, well, firstly, there are two issues. One, they're not deciding that they're being deceived or they're being forced. Yeah, so that's trafficking. They're being deceived because they know they're going to Europe, but they end up in the Sahara Desert. And it's too late for them. Not that it's too late, they're not able to escape. So some of the young people that end up in Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, all those countries, I guess maybe it's poverty as well, because they've been promised that, oh, no, it's not going to happen to you. Get there. Look, these are the people who are going to employ you. You have your own room. You can work from 9 to 5. You have the evening to do what you want. You are not going to work on Saturdays and Sundays. But then when they get there, they see that the reality is very, very different. And so a lot of young people get caught up in all of these issues because they're desperate, and they just, I guess they don't think it can happen to them because they've been told a different story entirely. So that's why we still need more awareness to let young people know that going to work in any country in the Middle East, you'll be enslaved. There's no proper job there for anybody from Africa. That's the way I see it. Because the visa system is called the kafala visa system. And that visa system is in such a way that you are tied to your employer. As soon as you get there, they take passport and can't go anywhere without their permission, and you cannot leave the country without their permission. So you can't even decide, okay, I don't want to do this job anymore. I want to go. No, you can't do that. You belong to them, and we've seen people like that end up being advertised on media for sale. Human beings advertised for sale because that person thinks they own that human being and they want to sell them else. So we still need to do a lot of work in terms of awareness raising, but also in terms of changing policy. So a lot of people are saying the Arab countries need to change this kafala system. Yeah, so that people are not enslaved because of it. So if you want people to come and work in your country, make it easier for them to come in. And if they don't want to work anymore, they want to go back to their country, let them be free to get on the plane and go back to Nigeria or Ghana, wherever they want to go to. So, I guess there's so many issues at play in relation to what's happening in this day and age.
Now, you've said something about Saudi Arabia changing policy, and majority of the victims remain Africans, and given the history of the most recent slavery that the world has seen, Africans were victims. At what point will African government and African people begin to take responsibility for themselves?
In fact, that's the other question was the $1 million question. This question, I don't even know. I think it's $1 billion question, because the trafficking of people to the Middle East is not a new thing. Actually, people were being trafficked from Africa to the Middle East, and about at least 5 centuries. Africans were being trafficked to the Middle East, different countries in the Middle East. I saw on social media.
Yeah. Are you with me?
They'll be the migrants. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me? So they're Black people in Iraq. And they're not recent, they're descendants of enslaved people who were taken from Africa to work in Basra. So Basra, I don't know if you're still there, but they used to have a huge sea salt mine, and they will traffic those people, take them to Basra to work in the mine. So they have descendants. And of course, they're also talking about Black Lives Matter. So what I'm trying to say to you is that I guess Africans would care about each other. When you think about the Arabian African slave trade, and you talk about the transatlantic slave trade, now we're talking about now we're talking about modern slavery. There's nothing being done by any African country to tackle this issue decisively. So there are things here and there, like Nigeria, but nothing. So for one government to say from now onwards, nobody in this country will be exploited, will be trafficked, and we're going to do ABCD to stop it. Nothing at all. So until we start to see very, very concise efforts, I'm sorry, but unfortunately, people will continue to be trafficked. Don't forget there's a lot of money to be made there. So traffickers are not going to stop because they have to make their money. It's a business to them.
Okay. What can we do? What can be done? Yes, you said awareness to create more awareness, but let's say about 10 years ago, there was no social media, there was not
Mm,
Facebook, there was no WhatsApp and stuff. But now there's
mm,
WhatsApp, there is social
mm,
media, Facebook, Twitter, and all of that.
mm,
And
mm.
still, the message is not getting across to people. Is it stubbornness, or is it that people
Mm.
just choose to be stupid?
So if you want, if so, one there are many ways that there are many things we have to do to stop trafficking. The key way is this: if we can address the very very high level of poverty, we'll be on track to dealing with trafficking. The people who are being trafficked or who are making themselves susceptible or vulnerable to trafficking are unfortunately people who have very serious issues in relation to poverty and deprivation. So they're prepared to take the risk because, as far as they're concerned, they're already living in hell. So if I have to go to Italy to do prostitution to be able to support my family, so be it. We need to develop Africa. We need to make it difficult for people to want to go to Italy or Lebanon or wherever, to work. When people are, we're not saying that everybody in Africa should be rich, but we're talking about people having a certain level of income that they're happy with, that will make it for them to take that option. So that's what's missing now. There are too many poor. If you take a country like Nigeria, where I think about 70% of the population is living below the poverty line. So you can see there's a correlation between the high level of poverty and the high level of trafficking. So if you want to bring one down, we have to bring the other one down.
Yeah. Now, your charity, Africa, is you
Yeah,
work tirelessly around human trafficking, especially of I think of children more from
yeah,
Africa and that. How
yeah.
do you have enough power and resources to um persuade or lobby governments of nations to be able to ensure that more children are not being trafficked?
Traffic. Um, even the United Nations doesn't have enough resources, to lobby governments where people are being trafficked. So I guess there has to be the political will. There's no government in the world today where trafficking is a problem. There's whatever the country is, who doesn't know what to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
key activities. Let's help to address poverty. If there's poverty, people are not going to be saying, okay, you go and live with my auntie in Lagos and be the house girl, because that's trafficking. Yeah, that child should be in school. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that we need to be putting more pressure. So United Nations are doing it, other agencies are doing it, even our charity will continue to do it. Maybe one day somebody who has a determination will get to power and make it a priority. So the political will has to be there. If there's no political will, there's not going to be any change.
But why is it I know this could be away from your jurisdiction, but then why is it difficult for governments to enact laws to stop these things, to tackle this, just as they tackle, let's say, other crimes like gun, drug, and stuff crimes? And at the same time, we are here talking about slavery, the slavery that happened 100 years ago. Meanwhile, we are here with
Mm,
slavery ongoing again, not being resolved.
yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. What's stopping? Well, as I don't care attitude, if you have a decent government that cares about the citizens, trafficking, well, tackling trafficking will be at the top of the agenda. Any country. So, for example, in the UK today, there's a lot being done, to address issue. Maybe not enough, but we can say that there's a high level of intervention. In Nigeria, there's some intervention, but even a lot of the intervention is from outside. Yeah, it's outside the country. So, the government is not putting Nigeria's money to tackle trafficking. Yeah. The bulk of the money is coming from outside Nigeria, from Europe, from the US, and from other countries. So you can see that it's not a priority as far as I'm concerned. If it was a priority, if I was the president of Nigeria, you say, okay, what are you going to do to tackle trafficking? I would say, firstly, I would declare a zero tolerance against trafficking. So that means that if you're trafficking people, yes, life imprisonment or something very harsh. Secondly, I am going to tackle poverty heads on. So these are the things we're going to do to tackle poverty so that we can bring down the number from 70% of the population. So in the next 10 years, we'll make it for 20% or 30%. So that's a high rate of fall, yeah? So until all that happens, it's not going to stop. So the political will is the key instrument that will help us to address human trafficking. If the government of the day is serious about tackling poverty, they will put in place resources to address it. But we're not seeing that at the moment in many countries, not just Nigeria, many African countries. We're not seeing that.
Yeah. In all of this, women still remain the still take the bulk of this whole trafficking, slavery thing.
Yeah, the main victims. Yeah.
Yeah, women remain the main victims of the whole trafficking and slavery, especially the modern slavery that is happening now, especially from Africa. I know that in the Eastern Europe and all that, there's still labor slavery going on, and maybe South Asia and all of those. But now focusing on the African one, it's mostly women who have been exploited in so many ways. Now, again, there's been a lot of campaign, women empowerment and organizations, and a lot of ways that people probably on paper and stuff, people saying they're empowering women. How else can we empower more women and to be able to safeguard women? What else can we do to make women, be safeguarded?
Yeah. I mean, it's the issue around women and girls being the main victims of trafficking, whether it's domestic slavery, in fact, mainly sexual slavery and other forms of slavery. The main reason is because of the low regard that women have in society. You can take any African society, it's a low regard. So, women are expendable, especially when it comes to sex. So sex trafficking is actually the main form of trafficking we see today. And who is trafficked for sex is women and girls. So if the government decides to tackle the negative way that women and girls are seen in society, I tackle patriarchy, but putting in place the right laws, the right legislation, and enforcing those laws. So, for example, violence against women, a law to tackle that and enforce that, then we will see a reduction, I guess, in the number of women being trafficked and exploited, especially for sexual assault. If there's a law against prostitution, for example, because I think there should be a law against prostitution. I know there's some women who don't think there should be, because they feel that women should have the right to engage in whatever job they want to do. But I think that women are so vulnerable to being exploited, and not just, but also young girls are being exploited. We need to find a way to address it, and I feel that a law will help. So that's my own viewpoint. Others may not agree with me, but if we have a law to protect women, to protect girls from sexual exploitation. That will actually go a very long way. So the law has a key role to play. We have the law and we are enforcing the law. So in many cases, the law is not being enforced. So if you look at Nigeria, for example, the law is not being enforced. So you see a lot of girls being the traffickers are not being punished. You know, you see them streets next day, they're still walking around. So that lack of political will, you know, to protect women from harm and abuse is what's making this issue continue. If we can do more to protect women and girls, then we will start to see a drop in trafficking, especially for sexual exploitation.
Now, every now and then, thank you for, you know, the information you're giving us on the show here. Moving on, you know, here in Europe, UK, and America, from time to time, like as is happening now, this Black Lives Matter campaign. When we say Black Lives Matter, or when people get angry for when a Black person is killed here, why is it that people don't feel the same way when they see Africans, especially, you know, being either trafficked, enslaved in Saudi Arabia, or even dying on the sea? I don't see the uproar as it is when, you know, police kills a Black person in America, especially. So why is that? Why is it that the Black life of Africans doesn't matter? You know, do not matter.
Doesn't matter
as it does for the Black people in diaspora.
Life is cheap in Africa. That's just the bottom line. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you've heard about, so in the 1990s, I think, in the 1990s, in Kano, some a pharmaceutical organization performed an experiment on many children in Kano who had meningitis. Yeah. And many children, a lot died, or they became disabled. And so the Kano state government decided to sue the pharmaceutical company. And to be sincere, you know, they won the case. However, whilst the case was still going on, the pharmaceutical company recruited a former head of state of Nigeria, whose name I'm not going to mention, but it's all there in the media. They recruited a former head of state of Nigeria to advocate for them. Okay, so as like a go-between. And I was really horrified to hear, or at least to read, this former head of state make a statement. A statement it made just goes a long way to show me that this is the regard many of these people have for their own citizens. He said that, look, so essentially, Kano state government was saying that they want this high number of compensation for the victims. So a lot of money per head. So the head of state said, well, you look, the money you're asking for is too much, because, you know, you cannot compare an African child to an American child.
Oh my God.
Yes. So outside the camera, I'll tell you who the person is, and I can find the article on Sahara Reporters. And that's it. He made a statement that you cannot compare a Nigerian child to an American child. So why are you asking for so much money? You know, bring the money down. It's so high what you're asking for. This is the former head of state. This is how majority of African leaders see their own people. That's why when people are killed, nothing is done. You know, for example, now, any country in Africa you choose, whether it's Kenya, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, there's a high level of rape, you know, being reported in the media, but there doesn't seem to be any desire to address these issues, because the people in power, they don't care. Life is very cheap in Africa. That's why how many people have been killed, like George Floyd in this month alone? How many people have been killed by the police in Nigeria, like George Floyd was? Have you even heard of it? You know, maybe there might be a little article in one Nigerian newspaper, or in Kenya, one Kenyan newspaper, and that's it, really, it's finished. So life is very cheap in Africa. There's no value for human life. And that's why trafficking is happening. That's why there's a high level of rape. That's why children are not going to school. If they're going to school, the school is dilapidated, the roof is collapsing on the children, and the people whose responsibility it is to fix the roof, they couldn't care less, because their own children are not sitting under the roof. That's where you see children, the list is endless. You know, the list is endless. And one of the things that's happening in Africa now, especially in a country like Nigeria, where the leaders do not care about the citizens, one of the irony of the situation is what COVID-19 has done. COVID-19 in a country like Nigeria has gone a long way to show that, you know, at some point, leaders will have to face the same situation as the citizens, where there is no escape. Where there is no escape. That's what we're seeing now. In a country like Nigeria and other African countries.
Yeah. Now, oh my God. In 2 years ago, on Divas of Color Festival, our focus was to raise awareness on the tagline was protect the girl child, and also to stand up against rape and all that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
from our own standpoint, our aim was to educate women on how to protect themselves. But we had a lot of opposition from people who were saying we shouldn't push the ball to women, and we should hold accountable the rapists and the traffickers and all that. But my argument was that see, we are not here, we are not blaming the victims. We are not excusing the perpetrators. The point we are trying to create, Divas of Color is not a charity, but we try to empower women. We try to create opportunity and create what's it called, give develop resources for women to empower themselves. So the aim was to teach more and more women how and steps they can take to protect themselves. So that if we can avoid one rape or one trafficking or one exploitation of a woman, that will go a long way, and with little effect we can achieve more. So in your opinion, what are and I'm sure that you have developed a lot of resources as well on how women can be safeguarded, apart from what government can, laws and what government can do. In your own opinion, what are other steps that individual women can take to protect themselves? Now, okay, let me put it again clearly, because there are still people who are going to misunderstand this now. The point here isn't to excuse the perpetrator. The point
I understand that.
The point here is okay, like how there could be motor accidents and all that. There could be people can run away, knock people down and run away and stuff like that. Therefore, you have to be careful on the road and protect yourself.
On the road, I absolutely agree. I actually see both, and it's important to understand one thing. I say that, yes, of course, we need to tackle the perpetrators. We need to train people to understand that it is not right to rape. However, we also need to recognize that, as far as I'm concerned, a rapist is not a normal person. That is the bottom line. A rapist cannot be a normal human being. There are issues there, the mental health issues there, in the sense that, there's this desire to harm, there's this desire to dominate, there's this desire to oppress, and those are not normal behavior. So once you understand that, I view that you should try to protect yourself from those people. Now, if we're talking about normal human beings, then those arguments like, it's okay to wear what you want to wear, because it's a freedom. All the arguments are fine, but we're not talking about normal human beings. Because we're not talking about normal human beings, we have to take that extra precaution to make sure we protect ourselves. The other side of it, of course, is that there are also boys who think that they're doing it for fun. We see many instances of that. They think it's a guy thing to do, to rape. Those boys and men need to be addressed. We need to address the issues of those who think this is just for fun. They don't see anything wrong with it because all their friends are doing it. Those need to be addressed. But we also need to recognize that there are different categories of rapists. There are those who I've just mentioned, and there are those who actually have serious mental health problems, who there's no solution unless they engage in some very, very intensive therapeutic support or something along that line. Yeah. So for that reason, it's like saying, no, my area. So when I go to bed at night, I don't lock doors. I just close my doors.
Come again.
Okay.
Sorry. Come again.
So
there was a glitch that
So it's compliance issue. So the is different to the fact that look, my area, we don't have burglaries here. So when I go to that night, close the door, I don't lock my door. Yeah, but you need to put Nigeria. But what I was trying to say is this in relation to the question you asked about rapists. And I'm like, there are two ways to look at it. The first way to look at it is that, somebody who is a rapist or a serial rapist for that matter is not a normal person. All the issues that come into play when you look at it, the desire, to oppress a woman, to dominate a woman, to harm a woman, even to kill a woman. Those are not normal. These are, a psychopath. These are the work activities of a psychopath. So if you know that, then we need to ensure that we protect ourselves from people like that, because you cannot make rational arguments where they're concerned. They're not normal people.
Yeah.
So you have to protect yourself there. I drew a parallel with when in my area there's no burglary. When I go to bed at night, I don't my front door. I just close it. Yeah. But when you're in an area where there's a crime rate, go to bed at night and close your door. You have to take precautions by locking your door as possible. So I can draw out those two parallels. Say, so girls concerned, take as much precautions as possible. Of course, people are saying that even babies are being raped. So what precaution should be put in place? Well, if you're the mother of a baby, then you have to be careful who you let around your baby. Those are precautions you can take. So you have to think the worst where your baby is concerned. Look after your baby, protect your baby from potential rapists. You don't know who they are, but you know there are rapists out there, and they could be your brother, they could be your father, they could be the baby's father, they could be anybody. Protect your baby from rapists. So there are precautions that we can take to make sure that we safeguard our girls and women from rapists, because I think that in this day and age, it works both ways. Yes, of course, the perpetrators needs to be taken to task. However, not all perpetrators are doing it for fun. Not all of them are rational people. You can only appeal to rational people. If they're not rational, it's like saying let's appeal to what do you call them? People who kill people, murderers. You can't appeal. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to protect yourself. It's the same. I see it the same way, and I think the argument goes in those two different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same. I have the same view. Like I would say, and I used to say, I did say during the Divas of Color event, I was telling
Yeah.
people, I said, ladies, if you are raped, you will never be
Mm.
unraped.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
you will live with the consequences of that rape, whether the perpetrator was, punished or not, whether the person was jailed or not. It's the same thing as when
Or
somebody
not.
has been killed, regardless of
Yeah.
whatever
It's
punishment
gone.
that is given to the murderer, the person will never come back to life. And once you are raped, you will never be yourself again. You will never be the same again.
Yeah.
So the more is more important for me
Yeah.
not be to prevent myself being getting into rape. But then we
Yeah.
also
To do everything
understand,
possible. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, we also understand there are some situations where it could be an accident. By then, that is an accident. But if there's steps you can take to protect yourself, that would be the best, one of the best things that women can
Yeah.
do for themselves, and which I think most
Absolutely.
advocates are missing out for fear of
Yeah. I think.
being labeled rapist apology. That's not protecting the rapist. That
Yeah.
is empowering
Yeah,
women.
I actually, I absolutely agree with you. It works both ways because rapists, any human being who decides to harm another human being in whatever way is not a normal human being. If you make a conscious decision to rape a woman, you're not a normal human being.
Yeah.
So you can't, no, we're not normal to say, oh, no, you do everything possible to safeguard yourself. Yeah, you do everything possible to safeguard yourself, and it doesn't mean that we're saying that rapists we're giving her to do what they want. No, we're saying that they're not normal human beings that you can start to rationalize with. Who would want to rape a woman or a baby for that matter? When you hear stories of a 2-week-old baby being raped, is that a normal human being?
No.
Yeah. So how do you want to rationalize that action? And what do you want to say to them? So you do everything possible to protect your children, and knowing full well that there's no label on the forehead that says I am a rapist. So you don't know who can harm your babies. So you do everything possible to protect. That's the way I see it. And I think I'm on the same page with you on that. And
Yeah.
I know some people don't thinking, but that's the way I see it. And I have worked with a lot of victims. People could turn back the hand to before they were raped. They would.
Yeah.
So it's done that you have to protect yourself. Of course, you have to do that because you cannot rationalize with a rapist. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any signs that one can look out for, in identifying some potential, whether it's trafficking, whether, like when somebody comes to people to say, okay, they're going to get them visa or whatever, are there any signs that that people need to look out for and say, this could be scam, just like,
Oh, definitely.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I have to cut you short there. When it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. That's all you need to know. So if I come from England and I come and I say, I can help you, that kind of help does not exist anymore. Nobody does that. So if it's too good to be true, it means it's too good to be true. Yeah.
yeah,
Nobody is going to help you to come to Europe. They'll pay for your visa. They'll get you a passport. They buy your ticket. You're going to live in the house for free. You're not going to pay any bills. And we know what it means to pay bills in this country. That kind of help does not exist. So if somebody comes to you to say they want to help your children, your daughter, your son, they're lying. You shouldn't believe them. It's safe for you or safer for you not to believe them because it's not possible. Nobody does things like that anymore.
and
Yeah.
in terms of rapists as well, especially pedophiles, and those kind of
Yeah.
people who rape children and
Yeah.
all that. What are the signs that
Yeah.
parents need to look out for? What are the any body language, anything that will give away intentions and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying that if you're a single mother, and so single mothers are very vulnerable. They're vulnerable in many ways. They have children, they can't pay their bills, they find it difficult they find, hello, they find it, can you hear me? My battery
Yes.
is, they find it difficult to survive. And then a good Samaritan comes along, tells them he loves them. And of course, he starts to pay their bills, they're financially okay, is helping. But that is a great way to access children. And a lot of pedophiles use that methodology. Of course, the mother doesn't know that. She thinks that this person is there to help her because he loves her. But actually, she's not the target. The children are the target. And so people are saying that women need to be very vigilant. If you're a single mom and, somebody just comes in and, see, when things are too good to be true, they're just exactly that. And you just have to be vigilant, to err on the side of caution and say, you know what, I don't want this. That's number one. The other thing is that, you see, children will try to tell if something is happening. They will try to say, Mom, uncle did this to me. They might not use the words that you will use that will cause alarm. They might not even have the right words, but they were trying to tell you a message. They're trying to pass a message on to you. And then you're not listening to them. You're not listening to what they're telling you. Yeah? Or you told you, oh no, that's, of course it doesn't mean that. They're not going to come back to you because instinctively they can tell that you can't help them. And so unfortunately, children are left in a situation where they are abused over and over again. So it's important for parents to learn how to identify the signs when the children is trying to tell you something. But it's also important to be very, very careful who you let around you and your children. Yeah? Oh,
Yeah.
there was a man who was jailed. Earlier in the year because he befriended a little girl's mother. And she was struggling. It was difficult for her. So when she finally got a job, but she needed somebody to look after her daughter, and he volunteered to help. He volunteered to help her while she went out to work. But he was abusing the child while the mother was at work. And it was a long time, many months before people realized what was going on, by which time this child had been seriously abused many times over. So it's important to be very, very careful who you allow around your children. Even if you're desperate, you just need to think safety first. You need to think about the safety and safeguarding of your children first. So you don't just allow anybody around them because they could cause harm to your children. And that's it, really. Just be very vigilant, be very careful.
There was a debate recently on Facebook. I didn't get involved in that debate, but it was going on between one lady and a man, and the man was in Nigeria. So they were talking about older men calling children their wives in front of parents and all that. And a lot of women are saying that, and of course, myself, I believe that if an older man is calling my daughter his wife, I'm going to really frown at that. But most of the men who were commenting on that were making a statement and saying that's not their intention when they call a girl.
Why do it in the first place? Why would you want to call an 8-year-old child my wife? So it's a subconscious thing. If you think an 8-year-old child can be your wife, then that's exactly what you think she is. I.e., somebody who is a wife. You have sex with them. So that's exactly what they're seeing in the child. They see the child as a sexual object. That's what they're referring to that child.
Calling them their wife.
That's a form of grooming. There you go. Exactly. They're preparing. They prepare. It's a form of grooming. And of course, so it starts from calling them my wife in public. Nobody's saying anything. Not saying anything is actually a form of
acceptance.
kind of like acceptance. Some people even laugh. Oh, your husband is coming. Why would you say that to a 12-year-old girl? What husband are you talking about? So that man then realizes that, oh, people are not going to mind. And then it goes to the next stage, which is to start to put ideas in the girl's heads. Before you know it, that child is being sexually abused. And so the culprit is not just the man himself, but all those people around the child that failed to safeguard the child. So I take, if I hear or see anybody calling a child my husband or my wife, I make sure I correct that immediately and make sure people understand that this is totally wrong. You cannot be referring to a minor as your child, as your husband or your wife. It's wrong, and we need to stop it. Definitely.
Thank you so much. Yes, this is so rounded. I hope that many people will listen to this and take the the information from it and use it to protect more wives. We can't be screaming Black Lives Matter while our lives are so expandable and cheap. Right, in Africa and other parts of the world. So thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you, Faustina.
Use this opportunity and tell people a little bit more about AFRUCA and the charity. How can people donate? How can people get involved and help with support the work that you're doing?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, AFRUCA, we just changed our name to AFRUCA Safeguarding Children because we wanted to emphasize the work we do with children and around children. And we're based in the UK here. We don't have an office in Africa, but from time to time, we engage in activities with other charities and NGOs in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Sierra Leone, and so on and so forth. But most of our work is in the UK. And you can volunteer for our charity. We have called champions. Champions are volunteers. We train them on a particular subject. And the idea is that they will go into their church or their mosque or their community organizations to train other people. They help increase knowledge.
Yeah. Are you with me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. We also have volunteers we recruit to be befrienders. So we have a lot of young people who were trafficked from Africa to the UK, who we feel that they're lonely, they're alone, they don't have any friends or family. They've been rescued, but it's difficult for them to live in the open world because they've been locked up for so long. So we get befrienders, we train befrienders, and we'll match them with a young person. And the whole point is that the befriender will be like an auntie or an uncle, and they can support the young person as they're healing and recovering from their terrible experiences. So you can volunteer with us in many ways, but you can also donate to our charity if you want to. If you go on our website, which is afruca.org, there's a section where you can donate on our website. And of course, we're a small charity. We're always looking for funding to continue to do our work. So every penny counts. And of course, we will appreciate every single donation and support that we can get. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much, Debbie. It's nice to have you on the In Her Words podcast for Divas of Color. It's been a very engaging and informative show, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Faustina.